So Solana Breakpoint, what are the themes of the conference this year and what can attendees actually expect?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Look, we're very excited about Breakpoint. It's in less than 2 weeks from now. And, we have two themes for the conference this year. It's revenue and returns. We've seen sort of like a cycle of these blockchain projects where you saw proof of concepts and, applications getting shipped to the mainnet. I think it's now time to raise the bar to, showcase and celebrate applications that are generating revenue. And so we're going to be platforming teams that are generating revenue and, infrastructure and support teams that are helping teams generate revenue. So that's kind of a core team, that cuts across everything from payments to trading applications to, deepen projects to anything that has organic demand. Of course, our industry is cyclical, much like the finance industry. And so, these things go up and down, but they have found some core product market fit off of which they're able to generate revenue. So we're excited to platform that entire category of companies and applications at Breakpoint this year. And the other theme is returns. There's investors. Is of a wide variety of categories. Everybody from the individual angel investor to the trader to venture funds to fund of funds, hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds, and so there's like this entire swath of capital allocators who are looking at blockchain ecosystems and trying to figure out how to generate return. And we're going to be platforming some of the best operators across that capital stack to talk to our to talk to new investors who are looking at this opportunity to generate sort of alpha in the medium to long term, especially those that have now been cleared to invest in this asset class by virtue of regulation and broader sort of institutional acceptance of our overall industry.
Yeah, and Akshay, this is the fifth annual Breakpoint conference, and it does sound as though there will be many types of attendees at the event. So tell us how you've seen the ecosystem grow and also mature from earlier Breakpoint conferences.
Yeah, it's really like exciting because time flies. That we're already at year 5. I think I can personally chart the attendee profile from memory to be one that was focused largely on folks who are hardware and network geeks. Setting up the early validators and setting up the infrastructure necessary to run such a high performance network instead of like perhaps Breakpoint 1, and then that evolved into a becoming a platform for application developers. So 2022, 2023 was really about the whole investing thesis was about follow the devs, and the devs were largely we were talking about the application layer developers. And given Solana's unique infrastructure, it enabled people who wanted to just build companies to focus on the application that they want to build and abstract away all the complexity of having to manage infrastructure. So it attracted sort of like this net new kind of participant who wanted to be a founder at the application layer. And this year, I think we're going to see an evolution of that into people who are also looking to allocate capital and find ways to participate in the on-chain economy, either by providing liquidity or investing in early stage teams, or opening up their liquid books to assets in the ecosystem. And that's part of why we decided to do this in Abu Dhabi this year, because it's on the sidelines of the Abu Dhabi Finance Week, where there's going to be something like 15 to 20,000 professionals in the traditional finance industry attending all at once. Abu Dhabi calls itself the capital of capital, and true to its form, is sort of becoming a shelling point for a lot of capital allocators to gather every year to discuss the future of their relevant sort of subsector in that industry. And so we expect to have a lot of crossover interest from that conference and that's attendee profile into this year's Breakpoint. So it lines up pretty well with all of the developments in the US that allows for sort of like a more regulated stablecoin infrastructure and space that opens doors to some of these folks who have been on the fence for a while. And of course, like that tailwind will play a big role in opening up the regulatory environment in regions around the world, including here in the UAE.
Yeah, and Akshay, as you mentioned, the countdown is on to both Breakpoint and Abu Dhabi Finance Week. So there will be so many attendees in town. So what advice do you have for conference attendees who are looking to make the most of their time, given that there are so many events and also side events taking place?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a keen attending Breakpoint, I like to say there's just two goals you're seeking to achieve. It's either you're looking to maximize distribution or raise capital, and ideally you wanna achieve both. And so, doing as much media around the announcements that have been planned is probably helpful. We have over 80 teams shipping core product announcements, and they all have been sort of they've all had this roadmap to ship a material update to their product, um, because they knew the breakpoint schedule ahead of time, and so they've all been planning this for months. So you'll hear from over 80 teams on what they're shipping, and it's really focused on product. And so getting distribution for the product that gets shipped is kind of important for these teams, and so focusing on that is always high ROI. And thanks to FinTech TV, we'll have you folks there, and you'll be able to cover a lot of the news from teams that are shipping major updates. The second, of course, is to raise capital. So meet investors, perhaps meet also potential employees of your startup that may be there, and so meeting your relevant stakeholders depending on your goals is the second goal, the second thing to optimize for. And between these two, I think it makes the trip very worthwhile for teams that are looking to grow, and it's an accelerant. And Breakpoint is really one large Solana family reunion, and so you'll get to meet anybody who's doing anything important on the network at the conference. So feel free to go say hi, and you'll see you might make a friend, and perhaps even meet a future employee. We're gonna have attendees from over 100 countries, so it's gonna be good.
Well, definitely exciting as the countdown is on. So, of course, we're all looking forward to it. The FinTech TV team will be on the ground. But while we're looking ahead, tell us about some of the activities that you're paying attention to when it comes to the Solana ecosystem. What are you paying close attention to?
Yeah, I think this year's themes are worth paying attention to. There's a evolving competitive landscape where launching assets on chain and having them trade in an experience that is indistinguishable from a brokerage experience or Web2 experience has really opened the doors to a new kind of capital markets that you can have on chain. And so I think you'll get to see a lot more of that, where Solana is the back-end infrastructure for a lot of teams to build these venues where these assets in their various forms, whether they're spot assets or perps or any options, are all traded on one common infrastructure. And so you'll see it's not just crypto native tokens, but also the tokenization of real world assets, whether it may be stocks in the US capital markets, or just harder to access emerging market stocks, and perhaps some credit products, and even alternatives such as gold and uranium and things like this that investors have an appetite to access. And so one big theme to watch is how well Solana does in becoming this sort of infrastructure that powers venues to launch net new kinds of assets on an internet native capital market stack.
Okay, Akshay, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to connecting with you and your team on the ground.